Welcome to my Sickle Cell Life podcast. My name is Jan, and today we are going to be talking to another sickle cell warrior about her story. All right. So, first things first, what is your name, age, and location?
I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30. Crazy.
Okay.
Um, I gender fluid. I don't really subscribe to gender. I just feel like it's,
Right.
in my personal opinion, it's a waste of time. If
Right.
that's
Yeah.
for you, that's for you, but it's just not a thing I'm into. Um,
Yeah.
but use whatever pronouns make you happy. I could not care less. And then I live in the DMV area, but I was born in New York. And to
Okay.
clarify, for those of you guys who think DMV means the Department of Motor Vehicles, it is the DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
Right. Thanks for clarifying that for the people that get it confused. Okay. And so,
Everybody?
um, what do you go by? What K
Kai. Just call me Kai.
Kai
Yeah.
Kai? Okay. All right. And so, what is it like? Living in the DMV area. What is it like for you?
Um, so I've grown up here. I was born in New York and lived there until I was about 4 or 5. Spent some time in Florida, but then was raised in the DMV area. And I would say growing up here is it's a trip. Because in a way, the DMV, those are three different states, right? DC, Maryland, Virginia, District of Columbia, not technically a state, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but the DMV is collectively like one place. Like it really is one place in three different states, and
Right.
there are places that are in Virginia that feel less Virginia than parts of DC and Maryland.
Yeah.
And so I think it is just growing up here was really fun, really amazing. I had access to a lot of good medical care. When I was younger, my mom, there's not a lot of hematologists in the early 2000s anywhere. So my
Mm.
mom would have me go to Children's in DC for medical care up until there was a hematologist that was recommended to us by the doctors in Children saying, hey, you guys live in Virginia. We know it's a schlep. How about you go see this person who's here? They're a hematologist. And I worked with them. And that was they just switched offices. So it was great and it was amazing. And so I feel very blessed to have had the access to care I've had here in the DMV.
That,
But it's also just
that's
been a fun time
that's what's up.
living here.
And so, what is your genotype of sickle cell?
I have SS. I was diagnosed at birth in New York. In so I was born in 1995, hence me being 30. Um, and by then, in New York, at least specifically, it was required to genetically test every single baby for sickle
Right.
cell. Had they not done so, I would not have known because my mom and my dad did not know that they were trait carriers. I would like
Okay.
there was no way on planet Earth we would have known I had sickle cell
Right.
had it
Right.
not been for the requirements in medical care that existed in
Right.
New York at the time. So again,
Okay.
every single day I'm blessed and highly favored and very, very, very lucky.
Yes.
Because I know
Yeah.
it's not like that for everybody.
Oh, yes. I know. And so, did your parents ever talk to you about what that was like for them finding out that you had sickle cell?
That's such a good question. Okay, so this is a two-parter because I did not grow up with my dad at all. I spent a lot of time with his mother, like my grandmother, his mom,
Right.
me and her like this. But me and my dad, he's more of a sperm donor, if anything.
Right.
Love,
Yeah.
love as much love can be given between us two strangers that are kind of family, but
Right.
you know. So with my mom, she had a lot of literature, a lot of books, just like a lot of like information, printouts that we would get from doctors' offices, notebooks, all of that kind of thing. So my mom didn't really have the best grasp on it, but she
Mhm.
knew that I had the illness because of something that existed in her and in my dad. And so I think she struggled a little bit with like the guilt of giving me something and even though
Right.
she had no control over it, I do really think there was like a heavy resounding feeling of guilt.
Yeah.
Um, but she did her best, even with all
Right.
of the guilt that was involved. She very much did her best. My
Yeah.
dad, um, a whole different story. So without spilling too much tea, my father was in prison for most of my adolescence. Um,
Oh.
And so I got a couple of letters from him when I was a youth, but outside of that, I didn't really spend a lot of time talking with him. I got really sick a lot in my early 20s and into my mid 20s. And I also spent some time in my youth having crisis, which we can talk about in a little bit.
Right.
But there was one of these crises in my early 20s, and I guess my grandmother had been more vocal about like the stuff that was going on. It was around when Stranger Things was launching. I don't know why that is the memory I have associated with that, but that was around the time frame. Like the season one of Stranger Things, because I was in the hospital when that season dropped. Anyway, you know how you can clock things by when you were in the hospital?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
So, it was around that time, and I remember my dad, he was very uneducated at the time. So the only thing he knew about his own anemia was what what the prison system had been telling him about himself. And they let him know that he was anemic, but he didn't really know what the fuck that meant.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so we're talking on the phone, and he's like, "Yeah, what's wrong? Like, why are you in the hospital? Like, why are you sick all the time?" And I'm like, "You, y- okay, that's fine. We can have this conversation. That's fine." I'll
Right.
explain it to you that this is kind of your fault without trying to sound like a jackass. Excuse my language.
Right.
So I was like, well, it's genetic and it comes from the parents. And he's like, wait, what do you mean from the parents? And I said, so you and my mom both carry a trait. It's the sickle cell trait. And there is a 25% chance that when two parents carrying the trait make a baby, that they will make a baby with sickle cell. And I am the lucky 25%.
Right.
And he was like, and that's how I knew that he had been talking to the medical professionals in the prison system, because that was the next thing he said to me. He's like, "Oh, so that's why the doctors told me, I mean, while I was locked up, that I have anemia." I was like, "Yep, because you do."
Right.
You
Mhm.
passed it to me. I got a big boy form of it though. You got the not that the trait doesn't also have its complications, but if I was
Right.
given the choice between getting the trait and having full blown sickle cell, I'm
Right.
taking the trait.
Right. Exactly. Oh,
Like you get to be immune to malaria without any of the bullshit. Like, I mean,
right. Yeah. Yep. And so, are you the only person in your family with the full blown disease?
I am the only person in my family with the full-blown disease. I don't know, none of my cousins or anything have it. I also do have a sibling. However, we have different dads. So
Okay.
she did not end up with sickle cell, nor did she end up with the trait, which is also a
Right.
possibility. But yeah,
Right.
so just me.
Yeah, I'm the same way, girl. I am the same way. I am the only person in my family with it, and like much like your parents, my parents didn't know either. So we are one and the same.
Yeah, and it's weird when you
It's
have to start educating your own family about things, and like because it starts
yeah,
so young. Like I remember easily, probably for me in like the third and the fourth grade is when I had to start like explaining to my parents, "Hey, no, I can't do this." "Yes, you can." "No, I can't." "I've watched you do it." "Yes." And then remember how I was laid up in bed for the next 4 days? "I
right.
cannot do this."
Mm-mm. Yep.
So it's a hard thing, and it's really hard to learn. I mean, thankfully, the one lucky thing I will say is I'm the oldest daughter, which means you already have to learn how to put your foot down at an early age.
Mm.
So it was a little bit easier for me to be like, "No, I'm telling you, I need this." But
Right.
it's significantly easier now than it ever was when I was a younger child. It's
Right.
hard.
Right. Yeah.
You're fighting against
Yeah.
your parents, the system, your school friends, and I'm loud. I've always been loud. I've always been loud and chronically ill. Um, so everybody knew, like, and if anybody ever asked me, why can't you do this or why can't you do that? I was very upfront. Oh, I have sickle cell anemia. It makes things work weird.
Okay.
The issue
This
with
is a
that is, oh, sorry.
no, you're fine. You
The issue with that is when kids go home and start Googling things and they come back to school the next day and they're like, hey, I Googled sickle cell. You know you're gonna die before you turn 25? Wow. We're
wow.
9. That's great. But also, I'm 30 now, so fuck you.
Right. Mm, yes. Shout out to all those people that said we wouldn't make it, because here we
Right.
are.
Here we are living and thriving and sexy too. Like,
Yes, you
you
better say
know,
that. Yes.
I've
Um,
never I've never met a sickle cell person who was not a baddie. Like why were we all nerfed? Because would we just be too powerful if we just had normal blood cells? Like, come on.
definitely, definitely.
So
And
we're
you know,
all fine.
Right. It's something with the fact that sickle cell basically stunts your puberty. So it makes a lot of us look younger than we are, which is why we look so good.
And you wanna know what's crazy about and nobody tells you. Why did not one doctor tell me growing up that my puberty was gonna be stunted? I thought something was wrong with me. And, like, bitch, you're
Yeah,
disabled. Yes, there is something wrong with you, but nobody explained it to me. Nobody told me
right.
that this was gonna cause that. So here I am, everybody's, developing, and I'm here, like, looking like a 4th grader in 7th grade, like,
That's look, I feel you're preaching to the choir.
"Hello?
You're
Hello?"
you're preaching to the choir, girl. Cause look, when I tell you I was in freaking high school looking like a 10-year-old boy, yes.
I'm
So
like, by the time you finally start hitting puberty, and it's weird because like there's the weight gain of puberty, there's like the like your body shaping out part of puberty. And for me, it happened in weird bursts. Like I didn't really start hitting puberty until 8th grade, like dead ass. Like my sister, like not to put my sister C on blast, my sister got her period in elementary school. I did not get
yeah.
it until 8th grade. Like
Mm-mm.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And, like, yeah, we have different dads, but, like, we're not that different, and my mom
Right.
was an earlier bloomer, so I expected kind of the same for me.
Yeah.
And that was not the case, but then so in 8th grade, it was weird. I finally got my period, which was I was, like, so I was so excited. I was like, "Yeah!" Like, that you know? You're like, "Everybody else is getting it," and you're like, you've been learning about it in FLE for, like, 4 years, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Nothing's happening."
Right. You feel left out. Like you feel like you're behind.
Feel broken, you feel like your body's not doing the things it's supposed to do. You're like, "Do I need to schedule another appointment?" But the
Right.
issue with that is because, like, I hit everything, like, I just, like, hit so fast, my boobs grew really, really, really fast, and I actually posted a TikTok about this, and that's why I get so mad when people talk about little black girls' bodies, because I grew 3 cup sizes in 3 months. Like, I remember going out to buy B cup bras with my mom, and 3 months later, I was wearing the same bra, and my mom was like, "Why does your bra fit like that?" And I was like she's like, "Why aren't you wearing the new ones I got you?" And I was like, "This is one of the new ones that you got me." And she's like,
Wow.
"What are you talking about?" And so, she's my mom, so she takes a look at everything and she's like, "Oh, this doesn't fit no more." I'm like, "No, no, it doesn't."
Wow.
So we went to the store, blah, 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 blah. But then a girl spread rumors about me that I was stuffing my bra. No, bitch, I just grew 3 cup sizes in 2 months. Like, why is that any of your business?
Oh, wow. Yeah, see,
So
at least, I mean, you were opposite of me because girls were making fun of me for not even, needing a training bra or anything, you know?
that's fucked though. Like, why can't we just leave little girls in their bodies alone? Like, we're all like,
Right.
I feel like that's the easiest part, the easiest way to handle it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
apply some more lipstick.
Kids are just so cruel too, you know? When they
I could
feel
tell
like you're
you.
the outcast, they're so cruel.
They're
But
so cruel. They don't even care if their like words affect like there are things kids said to me in 6th grade I dead ass still think about. Like my first so you have like we have levels of crisis. And feel
mhm.
free to ask me another question, but I will babble. I will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go
Um
ahead, chat.
my very like not my first real crisis I like passed out in school was a whole thing, but like a small like the small crisis where you're like okay there's pain but maybe not necessarily hospital necessary, but this is
Right.
still one of the first few times I had ever experienced something like that where it was specifically pain but not accompanied with any other real symptoms.
Mhm.
But like the pain was bad. I'm like holding my arm like it's in a cradle. So I go through about half the day, and this is in 6th grade. I'll tell kids are mean, but teachers who are complicit in being mean are also bad. And
Yeah.
I'll loop back into it. So I went to the nurse's office. My arm was hurting. They call the doctor. They call my mom. My mom was like, "Let me confer with the doctor because this is kind of the first time we've had anything like this specifically happen." The doctor was like, "Let's pull her out of school as long as she's like doing well, and you don't think it'll be a problem. Let's go get her X-rayed and just make sure that there's nothing going on in the arm because she is holding it like it's in a sling and it does really hurt her. So it would be better to check and make sure that there's nothing going on versus right."
Right.
So by the time that all of these conversations have happened, I have gone back to class.
Mm.
So they call to the classroom. They're like, "Yeah, no, have her grab her stuff. We're gonna send her home." For the next few weeks, I get made fun. I got sent home because my arm hurts. That's not why I got sent home. But
Wow.
And and the teacher let it happen. Like the teacher perpetuated it. And when I say perpetuated it, I mean, you do superlatives, and superlatives are super fun and they're kind of goofy and like ha 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 ha. And so we did like most likely to wear red, most likely to, to do well in gym, most likely to be sent to the nurse's office. Why did you allow that? Why did
Wow.
you allow that? And
Wow.
the teacher was black, which adds insult to injury.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, definitely. Oh my God.
yeah.
Yes. I truly believe that some of the teachers that allow stuff like that to happen were bullies back in their school days too. Cause like, why would you be okay with that?
Would you be okay with that? And like, I'm a little, you're telling me you don't see yourself in this little black sixth grade girl who's just trying to find her footing. You're telling me you don't see anything in me
Right.
as a black female teacher. You don't see anything in me that reminds you of you. No, you're just gonna let this entire class rip me to shreds for something I have no control over.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
So
That
I
is
did, because no, even then I was a petty little kid. So I went and talked to the guidance counselor about it because I was like, I don't know if I'm being sensitive, but it really hurt my feelings. Because it did hurt my feelings. I'm like a little kid.
right.
What?
Yeah.
They pulled the whole superlatives page, and she was mad about it too because the way she talked about it in class after the whole thing had gone down, she was like, "Unfortunately, because some people are too sensitive, we can't do the sixth grade superlatives." And I was like, you are
Wow.
letting them make fun of my disability. I don't care
Right.
that we don't get to see who has the biggest smile on the fucking back of the sixth grade yearbook. Fuck you.
Right. Right. Like, oof. Well, good
Yeah.
thing you no longer have to deal with them type people, you know.
Ugh, unless we're
Good.
in the hospital and we're dealing with uneducated nurses, because I feel like
Right,
that.
right, yeah. Yeah, and then that's a whole nother layer of
Oh my
mess.
God.
But we could definitely get into that. So,
Yeah.
do you do you know how many crises you have on a monthly basis or a yearly basis?
Ooh, this is a good question because it has changed. I don't know if you know, I call it a human oil change. But apheresis, apheresis, right?
Yes, yes.
So, you know, big bad port scars, gotta love her.
Right,
I
yeah.
get apheresis done every single month, and I have been getting apheresis done every single month for years now.
Okay.
Um, and it has vastly improved the quality of my life. Like
That's
when
what's up.
like eons. And so in
That's what's up.
in my early 20s, my late teens, um, hospitalizing crises, um, at least once a month.
Right.
If I was
Okay.
lucky, once every 2 months. If I was lucky, we'd get 2 months in between. There were times where
Right.
I was in the hospital twice a month. It was
Yeah.
I had no there was no living to be done. I was in the hospital all of the time.
Yeah.
Um, and
I
so ironically enough, I moved away for college. So I've lived in the DMV for a while, but I moved away for college. I moved to Idaho.
wow.
And to loop back into that, I was a Mormon for a little while, and I did join the Mormon church out of spite. That's a whole nother story we can get into at some other time. Um, but I was a Mormon, so I went to BYU, Idaho. There's three BYUs. There's one in Utah, there's one in Idaho, and there's one in Hawaii. People don't know about
Oh,
that. Yeah.
oh wow.
So I was at BYUI. And I got sick my second semester. Yeah, I got sick my second semester there.
Oh wow.
So sick that like I'd never been hospitalized not on the East Coast. This was my first hospitalization that didn't happen.
Right.
And that didn't happen in peds, which is peds versus adult care.
Yeah. Polar
Like
opposites.
the second
Yeah.
you turn 18, now you're an addict. Whoa,
Right.
nothing has changed. Y'all prescribed me these medications. I'm
Right.
confused. We'll get
Right.
into I have a whole rant about that one too, because why are you giving kids narcotics when there are medications you can give us that don't fuck us up and will have us survive
Right.
and let us live and let our brains do what they're supposed to do. But no, 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 no,
Right.
no, no,
Right.
no, no, no. I'm 14 and I relate to health because I have to take Vicodin for my pain. That don't make no
Right.
goddamn sense. We'll get to
Right. Yeah.
it.
But yeah, and we can we'll talk about like the medications and things like that toward the end. But yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, so I'll leave it on pause. So I'm in Idaho. I'm sick. Something is wrong with me. So I find like to the point where I walked into my chemistry class and I said, "Hey, I'm not doing great. So if I run out of the classroom, it's because I have to vomit." And he was like, Oh, okay. And one thing about having science teachers when you're in college or anywhere, but like that's better than having any other class of teacher is you tell a science teacher you have sickle cell anemia, and even if they don't know shit about shit, they know, oh God, that's not great. Like even if they know nothing, they know blood disorder, painful. And
Right.
shit, that's more than half the nurses know. So I'll take that. I'll take it for real, for real.
Yep.
So the chem teacher was super chill about it. I end up having to run out of class. I get sick. I call a friend. They take me to the hospital. This was the first and last time I had morphine because morphine doesn't work on me. Little unbeknownst to me, morphine, Vicodin, and are in the same family of medications. So of
Right.
course, once I stopped taking the one thing, why would the IV version of it work? It wouldn't. But when I say I learned
Right.
that literally the past 6 months, I just learned that shit. I'm so fucking annoyed about it. Anyway. So I have never felt like a lab experiment so much in my life. And I have done clinical trials. I have done experimental things in clinics. So this is a loud, bold statement coming from me.
Right.
I draw my labs. Obviously, I'm in Idaho. This is a predominantly white area. You can tell none of these doctors have ever seen sickle cell outside of a textbook. You can tell they have never seen it outside of a textbook. The way
Mm,
that my doctor came in and was like, okay, yeah, we examined your slides. We're going to do this and we're going to consult somebody at XYZ bigger hospital because we don't have a lot of experience with this. Okay,
mm.
at least thank you for doing that.
Right.
That's fine. That's par for the course normal. Why did I have seven, maybe eight more doctors that were not on my chart, that were not on my team, but very, very obviously saw my blood slides come see me? Like it was like they just wanted to see the sickle cell patient in person. And it's like
Right.
I'm dying. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be a lab experiment right now. I don't mind
Right.
being very loud and open and talking about my illness. I'm so okay with that because I know that there are sickle cell patients who aren't okay with that. And because I don't care, and if I can be a voice for somebody who really does not want to be loud, I would love to be that. I'm happy to be that. But
Right.
not when I am laid out and nobody's even asked me for damn permission
Right.
to
Yeah.
share my slides all over the hospital. The whole
Yeah.
week, day
It's
after day after
crazy.
day, new team of doctors would come in. You could tell they're showing my slides because they're like, when they come in and they're like, I'm in
Yeah.
so much pain and I can't get the nurse to come in here to give me my next dose of pain meds, but y'all want to come in here and ask me lab rat experiment questions.
Right. Oh, Lord.
So
Yeah.
moved back home and I realized I couldn't live in Idaho. A, the medical care system was bad. B, I was already having cognitive dissonance with the religion and it was time for me to bow out, and I did. So I moved back home and I didn't really have a medical care team. I was looking for one. Because I didn't want to have to go all the way to DC and Children's to receive like generalized medical care. That felt like a waste, not a waste of time, but like too much effort.
Okay.
Because of how far away it can be based off commute and traffic. It's like DC isn't far. Like I could spit and hit DC, but
Right.
I've also sat in traffic for a 15-minute drive for an hour and a half.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. That's too
So
much.
it's too much. I'm chronically ill. I'm disabled. I'm in crisis. I'm supposed to schlep across the bridge in crisis and sit in. That's not
Mm,
feasible.
too much. Yeah.
So I
Way too.
started just like anytime I would get sick, I just kind of started going to the generalized buildings and hospitals that I had here. I didn't have a care team. I was still really looking for one.
Oh.
Um, Yeah, I got really sick. I had parvovirus. I don't
Oh
know.
wow.
I know it's a rarity for people to get, but it's more likely if you have a blood disorder like sickle cell. Like humans can get parvovirus, but like it has to be something already messed up with you for you to catch it. Um,
Oh.
and so I caught parvovirus, which we did not figure out. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks before we figured out what I had.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and so, you go to the hospital, you're in crisis, your hemoglobin is low. I felt weird the entire day. Like, I guess as the parvo was like, building in my system, I felt weird. I went to work anyway, ended up asking my very, very whitewashed, love her dearly, very sweet person, coworker. I looked her dead in the face and I was like, I have a weird question for you. She was like, okay. I was like, do I look pale? Because, like, it's hard to, when you ask white people if you look pale, they're like, what? You're like,
Right.
okay. Is there undertone? Does it look like the blood is pumping in my face? Like, come on now, work with
Right.
me. So she like cocks her head and she's like, kinda, and I'm like, that's a problem. If you can tell, so I'm making phone calls, I'm texting people, I'm trying to figure out somebody come cover my shift so I can go. Find somebody to cover my
Mhm.
shift. I drive to the nearest like emergency room. I get seen. They've drawn my labs. Somebody comes back and they're like, after my lab's been drawn and I'm like, we're waiting for results. Someone comes back and they're like, how did you get here? I'm like, I drove. I'm like, why? They're like, your hemoglobin is 5.2. How
Oh,
did you get here?
wow. Wow.
I
That's
drove.
yeah, and that's how it be sometimes, like that's how it be.
It's
Ooh.
bad. It was bad.
Uh,
So I go to the hospital. They admit me. They give me blood. They give me pain meds. We're thinking everything is right as rain. Next day, so my hemoglobin pops back up, maybe like a 6.8, 6.9. Not bad, not bad for a couple units of blood. It's the first day. Next morning,
right.
4.2.
Wow.
Okay. Try again. A couple more units of blood. Instead of 2, we'll do 4. Oh, 7.2. Next morning, 3.9. And
Oh
it
my
was And when I say it was like that for 2 weeks, I mean, they were putting the blood in that little blood warmer because they thought I was having allergic reactions to it. Like, they did not know what was going on. I promise this is all going to lead to me finding a medical care team. There is a purpose for this. So
oh
I am in the hospital. I am struggling every day. I am in this room by myself. I am peeing red. And not like light red, not like period blood mixed in. No, 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 no. I mean red, like
wow.
darker even than this. Um,
Right.
and so I'm telling the doctors, I'm telling the people, I'm like, hey, like, I think my urine is a weird color. Like, and they're, at this point, I'm in the hospital, they're having you like keep the thing in the hat, but the nurse will go and flush it in the morning because they're trying to measure your fluid intake, all that fun stuff, right? So I'm like, no, I'm peeing a weird color. And it's awful. And they're like, oh, well, we'll check it out. And so they kind of have the nurses kind of looking at it, but you can tell that they're not actually listening to what the fuck I had to say. So,
Right.
and they're like, this was, mind you, okay, I say this because this was before the Starbucks boycott, but I loved a passion tea lemonade from Starbucks. And so my friend would bring me like the passion tea lemonade with 2 pumps of raspberry. I had a very specific drink. I don't drink it anymore, and they don't even have the raspberry anymore. So I don't. But like back then, this was in 2016, 2015. My friend would bring me one of those drinks every day. I mention it because it's pink. And one of the nurses had the audacity to be like, is it that drink your friend brings you every day? There's no beets in this Starbucks drink. It's not turning my urine red. No, like,
Right.
just
Like
the dumbest fucking questions. So I'm over it.
crazy.
One day I'm like, we don't know what's going on. I'm peeing red. Y'all are giving me a fuck ton of blood. At this point, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's hemoglobin coming out of my urine because I'm not holding on to the blood anyway.
Right.
There's no way there's not a correlation here, right?
Right.
So next morning, I pee red, shocking nobody. Well, not shocking me. The nurse comes in and she's like, "Do you want me to get rid of this?" And I was like, "No, don't flush it." Like I was aggressive. I was like, "Do not flush that. Leave it. It needs to stay there." And she was like, "Okay." And I was like, and then she like comes in, she's like, "Have you been peeing that color for a while?" I'm like, "Mm-hmm." And she's like, "Okay, understood." So she walks out. And eventually the doctor comes in. And this is the same doctor I've been seeing for about a week at this point. They kind of rotate through the hematologists that are on call that are seeing you.
Right.
So this is the other guy that has been rotating in, but I've been seeing him for about a week. The first guy, kind of irrelevant, but he will come back into the picture. He comes in and he's like he's like, all right, so your hemoglobin dropped again. We're gonna try doing more units of blood. And I'm like, he's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I have nothing to say to you until you go into that bathroom. And he said, what? And I said, I am not talking to you about anything. You are not going to get your report on me until you go into that bathroom. And I mean, like, and like, I'm trying not to be as loud as I was, but like to the point where like for the rest of my hospital stay, I was known as the patient that yelled at the doctor. Like I had a, because I was that loud, because I've been in the hospital for 2 weeks. Y'all don't know what the fuck is wrong with me, but no one is going to look at my red pee. Okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
Exactly.
I'm just pissed. So he's like,
Right.
well, ma'am, I'm like, I don't care what you have to do. You need to go into that bathroom. So he's
Right.
like, he can tell he's not getting shit out of me. So he's like, he puts his clipboard down. He walks into the bathroom. He walks into the bathroom. He stops. He looks. He said, ma'am. I said, mm-hmm. He said, you peed that color? I said, I've been peeing that color for a week and a half. He said, I'm gonna have the nurses test that. Oh, are you gonna have the nurses test that? That seems like a good fucking idea.
Right.
So he comes back to
It's
me a few hours later and he's like, yeah, so we found high amounts of hemoglobin in your urine. No shit,
mm,
Sherlock. It's
right.
red. So because they find the urine, they realize that my body is not processing any of the blood, which gives them more of an avenue to realize that my body is just not doing any of the things it's supposed to do with its bone marrow. What could shut down bone marrow? We get to parvo. They finally get to parvo.
Mm.
God bless. So you have to treat parvo, you have to do blood transfusions, you have to do IVIG, and you have to do it in a very specific order. We have now switched to this other hematologist. Hematologist who is treating me for parvovirus, something you cannot get unless you have something medically wrong with your blood already, right? As a human. Animals get it all the time, but as a human. So he treats me for this is like the fourth weekend now. So I've been in hospital for about a month. He treats me for the parvovirus. I spend like maybe 1 or 2 days in recovery. Things seem like they're on the up and up. My hemoglobin is starting to climb back up and stay decently stable.
Mm.
6.7, 6.8. We're like, okay, like 7 is transfuse level. So we're taking that. We're taking that because I haven't been above a fucking 5 in 3 weeks. So
Right.
we'll take that. So they're like, they discharge me. They're like, yeah, you're gonna improve on your own. Your hemoglobin will keep going up. You'll be fine. They discharge me. 3 days later, shit hits the fan. I'm back at the ER, back in the hospital. So there's one hospital in the area that I was going to. I decided not to go back there because I find out what's wrong. Is they're like, no, you still have parvovirus. And I'm like, what do you mean I still have parvovirus? I was just treated for it. I was treated so I shouldn't have it anymore. They talked to a couple of hematologists and they're like, apparently he treated you in the wrong order. He didn't do it right.
Oh my
Do you want to go
God.
back to that hospital? No, I don't. Go send me to the bigger one a little bit further away. Okay. So they send me to the bigger one further away. Mind you, this is the Pokemon Go summer. So I go into the hospital June 30th. We are now August 7th, back in the hospital. So I spent the entirety of July in the hospital and we
Wow.
spent maybe a couple of days figuring some stuff out. Now we're back in August. Now we're back in the hospital. So
Wow.
I meet with another hematologist. I explain everything, and they're like, "Wow, like we're gonna treat you." They're like, "Yep, no, he treated you in the wrong order. He should have done this, and then this, and then this, and that will get rid of the parvovirus." So they do that, but all of the stress of this all obviously threw me back into crisis. So now I'm in crisis, still trying to be treated for the crisis, while also being treated for the parvo. Whilst
Mm.
I'm in here, I get a hematologist that rounds on me. His name is Dr. Urschler. He's amazing. He actually has like relationships with the doctor who kind of came up with the theory of how hydroxyurea works. Like he's like, we don't have the technology for it now, but if we could find a way to synthesize the hemoglobin, then this would be very helpful for patients with sickle cell. The way hydroxyurea works, my doctor worked with the doctor that theorized this. So like he icon, right? And this is also going to come back into play in a second because I had one hematologist in the area who was like, "I'm the best hematologist in the area." You're a liar, because I actually I'm seeing the one who actually is the best in the area.
Right.
No, okay. So he comes in, he rounds on me. He's like, "Do you have a team?" And I'm like, "No, not really. I'm trying to find one, but I keep getting sick, and it's really hard to be in and out of the hospital trying to find a team that like sees me as a person and not as a fucking number or as an addict or whatever the fuck else."
Right.
And so he's like, he's like, I shouldn't do this. I have no more room. But he's like, here you go. Here's my office number. Call the clinic. Tell them you spoke with me personally. I will get you in for an appointment. I take his information. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, great, dandy, love it. Put it aside. He was wonderful. I had a really great time. Dr. Urschler had a wonderful rapport. He could tell he worked a lot with sickle cell patients and really understood us and really
Mm.
understood the science of what we were going through. Finally get everything is right as rain. I spend maybe like 3 more weeks in the hospital. So by September, I'm finally discharged. Now I'm trying to find a hematologist. So I go see a hematologist that's closer to me in the area. The reason why I didn't go back directly to Dr. Urschler is because remember I told you I had to go a little bit farther away to the hospital that I went to for care. He worked in that general region. I was like, that's further away than I want to have to travel to see the doctor I see most regularly. Like I see my hematologist more than I see my general practitioner. And you know that, Sati. Like it is what it is.
Right.
So I go see this doctor, and mind you, this is after 2.5 months of being hooked up to wires, full fluids, full blood. So like, if you draw my labs, you're not gonna see one damn sickle cell in there right now. I'm full of everybody else's blood but my own. So he draws my labs, he pulls me, he's like, I don't think you have sickle cell. I'm sorry, sir. You looked at one lab slide, and you're determining that I don't have my genetic disorder because of. Oh, okay, interesting, interesting. So I leave. I'm like, no, I'm not going to see you. How are you going to tell me I don't have the illness I have? I was diagnosed with at birth because you looked at one fucking set of slides. Mind you, you treated me for an illness I could not have caught if I did not have sickle cell. Whatever. So I'm like, I bite the bullet. I'm like, fuck it. We're going to go out and about to the further place. I call the doctor back. They get me in. And Dr. Urschler, he saved my life. Hands down, no question. That man saved my life. He's the one who got me ports. He was like from everything under the sun, every single bit of innovative sickle cell care I've ever gotten, I got from Dr. Urschler. And I met him when I was quite literally dying.
Mm-mm. Well,
But Dr.
I thank God you made it out of that, and you have the care team you need now. So kudos to your care team, for saving your life. Um,
Literally. I thank them every single time I go in there. I'm like, you guys saved my life. Like when I talk about like, like women are always like, I don't really trust men. And I'm like, yeah, there's like maybe 5 men I trust, and two of them are my doctors.
right. Yeah,
Because they saved my
I
life.
understand. I definitely understand. So how has sickle cell impacted your relationships, like friendships and relationships?
Ooh, this is a good one. I love this question. Let's do friendships first and then we'll bleed into relationships. This is a great question. So in my friendships, it has taught me a lot about what being a good friend is and also what like when I need to step back and realize maybe I'm asking too much of the people in my village. And not too much in the sense that like, hey, I need you to come bring me a medication or bring me X, Y, or Z. And they're like, oh no, that's totally fine. But it more so like my best friend, this is one time, my best friend, I've known him since I was in the 7th grade. And we are like this. He it was one time he was gonna come see me in the hospital, but he was also like his wife, well, his girlfriend at the time, but they were long distance. His girlfriend was in town and he was like, trying to make time for everybody, but she also wanted to come see me. And so he had made a plan that he was gonna come see me that day, but it ended up not working out. So he ended up texting me being like, hey, I'm gonna come by tomorrow instead, and everybody and like we're gonna bring everybody by and it's gonna be great. And instead of me reading that as, hey, we couldn't do this today, but we're gonna come by tomorrow, I took it as like I wasn't important enough to move the stuff around for. And I felt really jaded and slighted because you're in the hospital, you're by yourself, you feel really alone, and you're looking forward to these moments where your friends are like, hey, I'm gonna come see you. And you're like, yeah.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
and then they're like, hey, I can't do it. So I'm gonna go negative on me first because I do think it's important to reflect on the way that we sometimes may ask too much of our village because yeah, life has sucked for us and everything does suck. And our friends do consistently tell us, if you need something, ask for it. But I always try to be mindful to make sure I'm not asking too much of any one person because sickle cell is heavy. It's heavy for us. Could you imagine how heavy it is for the people who care about us, who don't want to see anything bad happen to us? I'm not saying it's heavier for them. I'm saying when
Right.
we're sick and they take on some of the emotional burden, we have to remember that they are taking on some of the emotional burden because they care
Right.
about us, love us, and try not to take that for granted. And so that
Yeah.
was something that I had to learn really, really, really difficult lesson for me to learn because I also have borderline personality disorder. And so rejection sensitive dysphoria is something I also experience. And so being told no, or I can't, or even just being ghosted sometimes, even by people I know love me, can sometimes cause me real physical pain and make me feel like you don't give a shit. And I know that's not the case. Like logically, I know that's not the case.
Right.
It doesn't feel that way, and it really hurts and it makes me feel like I'm unwanted or unneeded, or it would be easier if I just wasn't here, and like
Yeah.
those are things that I really had to work through because it's already hard enough for your friends and your loved ones and your family to watch you go through something difficult. And I'm not saying you have to be positive and put on a brave face, but try to appreciate the things that people are doing for you. Like, oh my gosh, somebody brought me food, and you're like, oh, I don't like this, and it's like, then pick the shit off of it you don't like. They went out of their way to stop what they were doing to bring you something to eat because they know hospital food is ass, like
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so that on the one side for me, I had to realize that the people who were bending over backwards for me were doing it because they cared to and because they wanted to, and that I
Yeah.
shouldn't expect that of anyone, but the people who give a shit will do that regardless. And so that
Yeah.
will lead into the other thing I learned is there are people who will support you when you're in the hospital because it makes them look good. And there are people who will support you in the hospital because they are there to support you in the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
And my first big hospital stay, I had a lot of both. I had a lot of people who were there who would come visit me regularly because they were my friends. We already hung out every day at my house, and now I'm in the hospital, so they're gonna come see me, and we're just gonna hang out and chat in the hospital until I'm too tired to keep on conversation, and then they'll head out and go do whatever the heck they're gonna do for the day.
Right.
Had wonderful friends like that, but then I also had people who kind of used my hospital stays as clout for themselves. Like, look at the care package I got for her. And it was like, on the one hand,
Mm,
it was like, thank you for bringing me coloring books and X, Y, and Z and A, B, C, D and beverages and stuff, but like, I don't drink this, I don't really like this, and I don't have the energy to hold up a pencil because I can barely fucking walk.
right. Mm,
And so it was like you have to be mindful of the people who are just using you to make themselves look good. And that was a weird one that I had to learn. Also, I have a great village and I do rely on them a lot. And when your village tells you to rely on them or to use them more often, do so because they mean it. My village is always like I have one of my again, Bow's one of my best friends. He's so great. He's always like, if you need something, like if you need food, if you need this, you just like let me know. I can get something ordered to your house. Like I can help you out. Like it is totally fine. And it makes me feel a little bad, and like I don't ever want to feel like anybody thinks I'm like using them or anything like that, because but there
right.
you literally can't fucking get up and cook. You make yourself one goddamn meal a day and you feel super proud of yourself for that, but you used all your spoons for that. And now you're like you
Right.
can't clean, you can't do shit. You're like and then you feel bad because you're just sitting around doing nothing. Call your
Yep.
friends. Have them come over. They'll help you clean. They'll help you wash dishes. They'll order some food to your house. Like, or if you're like, oh, I don't really want to do all that, but for example, you can go to the food bank, but you don't know how you're gonna get back from the food bank. Call your friends. Hey, I'm going to the food bank. I'm metroing there. I'm taking the train. I'm taking the bus. Whatever. Can you give me a ride back home so I don't have to take this big ass box with me? Use
Right.
our village. The people who give a shit about you are not going to make you feel bad for asking for help. And the people who
Mm,
make you feel bad for asking for help or hold it over your head, fuck those people.
right.
They are not looking out for you and they do not have your best interest at heart.
Yep. You're so right. You are so right.
I've experienced it all. I've experienced it all. I've had a best friend who would literally spend days and days and days and days with me in the hospital, but then would hold it over my head like, oh, well, I spent all this time with you in the hospital. And it's like, and then you couldn't do this. I was sick. You,
Right.
you understand it sometimes, but not all the time. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
I do not talk to this person anymore for quite a plethora of reasons.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You're so right. The people that matter don't mind, and the people that mind don't matter.
Matter.
That's
Amen.
point blank. Period.
Pick that up. I
so
love that.
so do due to having sickle cell, do you find it hard to maintain employment and things
Yes.
like that?
Oh my gosh. So yes. I'm gonna start this off with I know that there's a stigma about claiming your disability and being loud, particularly now with EEOC and everything that is going on with the government. Um, I always say it is easier to not get the job because you are disabled than to get the job and they don't know you're disabled, and then you have to bring it up to them and be like, "Oh, by the way, I'm sick." And like sometimes it works out and other times it doesn't. And I found it's a lot easier just to be upfront and just be like, "Hey, by the way, I have this. I was born with it. It doesn't really affect my life, but if and when it does, these are the things that I need." You know, like
Mhm.
it won't affect my work ethic, it won't affect XYZ, but all of the like the implying for jobs and stuff aside, yes, it has affected my employment in so many different ways. Um, since we talked about the big crisis, I will actually use that story and piggyback off. Well, at the time I was working at Barnes and Noble, and I had talked about having sickle cell anemia, but like some people don't really know what it is. People hear the word anemia and just think you're a little iron deficient and kind of clock out, like it's a bunch of stuff. So I had been like vocal about it, but not loud. Like I'd been like if somebody asked me, "Oh, hey, you take a lot of breaks or you seems like you're taking an extra break outside. Like what's going on?" "Oh, I have this and I don't feel great." And like that was kind of it. So the day I got sick, had my coworker tell me I looked pale. I left work and went straight to the hospital. And then I spent 2 months, 2.5 months in the hospital. And my boss at the time, maybe like 2 weeks in, I had one really good friend that like she was like, well, excuse me, we were coworkers, but we were also friends. Like we would hang out outside of work, and it was really funny because all of our coworkers were like, "Y'all are so close at the job, but I bet you guys never see each other out of this place." And we were both like, "That's so crazy," because she was literally at my house last night, and we was drinking wine and playing video games. But okay, sure, we don't hang out. And so because she was my friend, she would come and visit me in the hospital and stuff. And so I'm in the hospital. I keep calling out. I'm telling them I'm sick. I'm like, do you want a doctor's note? Do you want this? Do you want that? They're telling me no, that they don't want this documentation just to feel better. My friend goes into work, and this is after she had like come see me. She goes into work, and the energy of the conversation is, ugh, I can't believe she's faking being sick. I can't believe she's faking being in the hospital. Like, who would fake that? Like, and it is my boss, like kind of like having this generalized conversation with like maybe one other person in leadership and like someone who was like higher up and not necessarily a lead yet. And so she like walks in, and they're like talking about like it's like, oh, it's just so awful when people, abuse the system and say that they're sick when they're not actually sick. And I had been having like a little bit of like a tiff on the phone, like trying to get like my sick pay and like getting like specific leave hours while I was out, just so that I would have a little bit of fluid fun. So like shit, I could play a video game while I'm sitting in the goddamn hospital bed for 6 months trying to recover.
Right.
Like, let
Right.
me kill some time some way. Um, and so my friend, my coworker slash friend walks in, hears all that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, she's like, yeah, it's really really sad when people misuse the system." And then so Joey, one of my other coworkers, so my friend Emily talks to my friend Joey, and she's like, "Oh hey Joey, do you want to see this selfie Kai and I took? I was went to go see her in the hospital today." And the boss in the back, she's like, "Wait, she's in the hospital?" She's like, "Yeah." Me, hospital bed, like laid up, like trying to like look happy and smile. The calls I got for the next 2 weeks, the way they were kissing my ass, it was absolutely insane. Absolutely.
Right.
Um,
It's
so
ridiculous.
so yes,
Mm,
I and that was early days. That was like in a, in a retail setting. In a corporate setting, I've also had very similar issues. So in corporate settings, please hear me when I say this, be loud and disabled. In a corporate setting, they are legally required, even with all the nonsense that's going on, they are still legally required to accommodate you. You can still sue. And even if the government's doing stuff, you got state laws to back you up. All right. So always be loud disabled when you work for corporate, because they have to accommodate you. They do. They just have to.
yes. Yes.
So I was always very vocal about, hey, I'm sick, I'm doing this, I'm not feeling well, I need to work from home, blah, 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 whatever it was. So hot, cold, temperature increase, decrease, they don't really work well for people like us, for people with sickle cell.
Mm,
Anyway. um, and one day my boss asked me to clean the ice maker, which I thought was kind of an odd task because I've explained multiple times that extreme temperatures are bad, but particularly extreme cold causes a lot of pain. Like I've
right.
been very, 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 very vocal about it. So I go check and look at the ice maker, and yeah, the ice maker is like absolutely gross. Like it does need to be cleaned out. Um, but that's not something that I should be doing. So I send her a Teams message. I'm like, hey, I did a wipe down as best I could. Do you want me to like take the ice out of it and clean it? Because like in my mind, like that's the best way to fucking clean an ice maker is to empty it out and fucking clean it. Like, what, you want me to fucking clean the spray product all over the thing and have it be on the ice? Like that don't make no sense to me. So I reach
Right.
out, ask her like how she wants me to follow up. I get no follow up. I wait, I ask, I asked 3 different times, and then I'm like, well, fuck it. I guess I just need to take the ice out and clean it. Like I'm just gonna do clean it. She told me to do that. That's my job. At the end of the day, I don't want to lose my job because I didn't do something she told me to do. So I'm gonna do it. I was in crisis for 2 weeks afterwards, and my doctor literally was like, "I will write it in a note that because you had to clean that ice maker, it actively 1,000,000% threw you into crisis." Do you like? Like my doctor was livid about it. I have so they're all on the same team. You'll see me refer to he and she and my doctor team. They're a team of 3 doctors. I see all of them. They all know me, but they're all a part of Dr. Ursula's like main hub of
Right.
so. Um, I remember going back to work that next day, and she's like, "Well, why didn't you come ask me about the ice maker?" I was like, "I did. I sent you 3 Teams messages about it, actually." And she's like, well, why didn't you just come upstairs? And I'm like, I asked you multiple times, why would I come upstairs? So there's 3 floors. The ice maker's on the 7th floor. We're on 8. You teamed me telling me to go do it. So now I'm teamsing you back, but I'm in the wrong for not
Yeah, the double standard is
every single time.
crazy.
And like at least with the issue with the retail, like this was it was a Caucasian lady, so whatever. But every time it's a black person or a person of color, it hurts a little bit deeper because it's like, why are you against me? Why are you against
Right.
And you'd be like, oh,
Mhm.
that's one instance she wasn't against you. If you've ever seen some of my other videos, sometimes my hair is big and purple and curly. And I have that, it's a wig, love her. I have her in a few different colors. And I would wear that wig to work. And one day she looked me dead in my face and said, do you ever not wear big hair? Ma'am, we you do know that you're black, right? Say anything rude or shady, but had I said something rude or shady, I would have been like, you know, you wear that same ugly wig and it's bad, right? But none of my business. Like,
Right.
I'm not trying to go tit for tat here. You're my boss, so do whatever. But did you just
Right.
microaggress me? Like over hair?
Right. Huh.
Also, the curls aren't even that big. I have bigger wigs. Like,
Right. It,
I'm
I
confused.
can't stand people like that. But
And
so,
so, yeah,
um,
chaotic.
so I want to shift and ask, do you have any children?
I don't have any children. I feel like I was a big part of raising my sibling, but I don't have any children. I will say, I go to a sickle cell support group every month, and while I've heard some like being pregnant is really hard when you have sickle cell, it's really rough on your body, ABCD, all, and we've heard it all. I do want to offer another
Mm.
perspective that I'd never heard before. One of the members of my sickle cell support group when she was pregnant, her entire pregnancy, not one crisis. She spent her entire pregnancy happy, right as rain, glowing good. She did say that there was a pretty rough crisis after she gave birth. But the
Right.
entire like 9.5 month pregnancy, she said she felt amazing. She said, I'm ready to get pregnant again. I said,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
really nice to hear because the first time I went to the OBGYN, they told me there was a 50% chance I was going to die if I ever got pregnant, which was great. It was a great thing to tell my first boyfriend.
Oh my God.
And like,
That.
when you're in like early relationships, we had like baby fever and stuff. Like, just like, two new people in a couple, whatever. So like we had a little bit of the baby fever. And when I say like he didn't even want to think or talk or like reference family life, babies, any of that after the fact, he was like, no, I wouldn't want to have to do it without you. I'm like, no one's saying this is actually gonna happen. Also, this is outdated data. Like,
Right.
oh.
Uh, and I wish they quit telling people that. Like, what the heck, bro?
How and I mean, I'm trying to put on a brave face for my partner. That fucked me up. I'm still a little fucked up over it. Like what this is the first time I've ever been into an OBGYN. So I'm already nervous. I'm already like, look at my little bits. Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do. Oh, I didn't expect to be told there was another way I could possibly die from this illness I didn't ask to have. Thanks.
Right. Oh, I feel like they just said that to like try to scare you out of
Uh,
have trying to have kids.
Mind you, I'm coming in there for birth control.
Right.
At least,
Like,
at least I think I would like to adopt or maybe do like if I have kids later in life, I would love to, but I don't want that to be contingent on me having a partner or a man. That decision would be mine and mine alone. And if I'm in a relationship, obviously it would be our decision, but like having a kid could possibly be in the books for me, but I don't want to do that until I'm like 40. I want to enjoy this time of my life. I want to enjoy it. All of my
yeah.
family, I have four aunts, 5 aunts, all of them had kids young. And sometimes I feel weird because even some of my cousins now have kids and have families. And I'm like, am I doing this wrong? And then I'm like, maybe I am breaking the generational curse of feeling like we have to pop out babies as soon as we are of child-rearing age. Maybe I am supposed to be the example of, hey, you don't have to be in a relationship and you don't have to have babies. You can just live your life and have fun and be who
Mhm.
you are because no one in my family has ever chosen themselves in that way. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
maybe that's that's what I try to tell myself to make myself feel better is like I am
Right.
choosing me, and maybe that is what needs to happen in our
Mhm.
generation in my
Yeah.
family lineage because
Yep. And yep, you do not have to be defined by whether you have a child or don't have a child. It doesn't
Amen.
define you. It doesn't make your life any less purposeful if you have a child or don't have a child.
Also, I'm so ready to be the cool auntie. Are you joking? I'm already the cool
Right.
auntie. Me. You want to
Yes.
look like I would pick up somebody from school and be like, ah, like
Yes.
I'm the cool auntie.
Yes.
It's fine. I'm
Yes.
more the
You
gunkle, but
definitely.
also like the gunkle. Like I'm honestly a gay uncle as well. I know that's a little like it's both. It's both. It's fine.
Like, yes, you definitely give cool auntie vibes. Like, you could
Yeah.
your nieces and nephews will be able to tell you anything, and you'll be able
Anything,
to give them
everything.
the best advice,
Yeah.
and they'll feel real comfortable talking to you about anything under the sun. That's
Most
definitely what you give. But
thank you. Aw.
you're so welcome. Okay, so um I want to ask you, and I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to ask it formally. What has been your overall experience with doctors in hospitals where you live now?
Where I live. Okay, because that
Yeah.
is I was gonna say that I got
I mean,
plenty of
you can definitely talk about, where you live and just overall in your life,
okay.
as well.
I will say that because I do genuinely live in a really diverse area. Um, excuse me, when I moved to Idaho, I called it unculture shock because I've lived my entire life with every single race under the sun. My first neighborhood that I lived in I mean, New York, so New York. And then
Hmm.
when I moved to the DMV, first neighborhood I really remember living in was full of Hispanics, which we love. And no puedo hablar español también. So like not a big issue. And then when we moved into another neighborhood, and like this neighborhood, like there was a bunch of rough stuff going on, but there was Africans of all denominations, from Liberians to Nigerians to Ghanaians, um, as well as, Muslim people as well. And so those are I always grew up around culture, ethnicity. Like I remember having like African beef patties and knowing how they taste different from Jamaican beef patties, but also seeing the similarities between the two. Like these are things I grew up doing. You know what I mean? And so going to the doctors in Idaho, for example, I just felt like a lab experiment, which sometimes can be a good thing because they are working really hard to make sure that they treat you properly because they don't want to do anything wrong because they don't want to screw up their data. And like,
Hmm.
so all on the one hand, it is minimalizing to be feeling like you're being treated as a number on a page. Sometimes being treated as a number on a page begets you better care.
Hmm.
Now, it's particularly in the lab rat experimental sense of the word because everybody has to get the same standard of care or it fucks up the result. Now, on the other hand, in just like the generalized healthcare field that in my area, I think that where I get medical care is amazing. I think every single medical team has room to grow. I've had issues with my own doctors. I've had issues with my doctors um when they wanted to switch me from one opioid to like a half opioid, half agonist, something that would be less messy for my brain. But at the time, it really scared me because I felt like we had just kind of gotten my pain in a controllable state. And all of a sudden, they're like, let's try this new med. And I'm like,
Right.
do that. But my medical team they're also really willing to meet me in the middle and talk with me. And I think that is very, very necessary. You
Yes.
you cannot communicate, and I mean communicate sadly, happily, maybe even being a little bitchy because pain makes you angry. Like if
Yeah.
you cannot communicate with your doctors in any state, that's not the team for you. My team has seen me in the hospital. My team has been cussed out by me. My team has seen me teary-eyed and very apologetic for cussing them the fuck out. Like, so when my team comes in and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about A, B, C, and D," I'm like, "You need to explain it all to me. How does it work? Why are you doing this? And how is it going to personally benefit me?" And then on the D, I always make sure that if it's something I'm really apprehensive about, if this does not work, you have to promise me we can go back to my last treatment. Like, And these are all conversations you have to be able to communicate with your doctors. Like that is the one thing I've learned across the board from seeing every single team, every single kind of doctor I've seen, inpatient, outpatient, temporary, fucking nurse practitioner joining the team for a little bit of while. If your doctor does not listen, if they are not willing to hear you out, they are not going to be able to take care of you. It doesn't
Yep.
matter. It just
Yep.
doesn't.
Yep.
And
You are so right.
like
You
that
are.
is that is the one thing I would take from any single place I've ever been. For example, I was just in the hospital, and it was actually one of the worst hospital stays I've ever had because like in the ER system that I live in, like we have a whole treatment plan. Like they tell the ER, hey, if she comes into the ER, these are what you're supposed to do. Like it is a
Right.
cell ER like procedures, like it's a list.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this was still by far one of the worst times I'd ever had. But at least we have this care plan, and like I can go back to the team and say, hey, this part of the care plan doesn't work, this part of the care plan needs to be tweaked, and it is a beautiful back and forth. I was talking with these nurses, they'd never had me before. I was in the ER, they're giving me meds, and they're like, yeah, I'm just here. Like one person was there just because they wanted to learn a little bit more and they'd never seen a port access before, kind of stuff like that. I'm like, oh, please, please let everybody watch how to access ports, because there's nobody ever here who can fucking do it. Let every bitch in the hospital watch you access this port. Can we sign off on registrations? Shit, you can pull them out and redo it if we can get more people registered. I do not care. So she was in there. She just wanted to watch the port thing, and we're having a conversation, and we're talking about sickle cell, and I'm like, how often do you guys work with sickle cell patients? And they're like, oh, not often. Like I don't see them a lot. And the other person was like, I used to see them a lot when I worked at XYZ Center, but I don't see them as much anymore. And I was like, I want to bring a thought to you guys. And I was like, sickle cell patients all the time get labeled as addicts, and being addicted to the pain meds and blah 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 blah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but I raise you this question: do you think that sickle cell patients, people who are in pain every single day and have been in pain every single day since they were born, do you think they're addicted to the pain meds, or do you think they're addicted to the feeling of not being in pain? And the
Right.
look on their faces was like they had never thought about it like that.
Nope. Mm-mm.
And I think communicating and talking and just try, and it's hard, let me tell you, because when a fucking nurse walks in and says, how long have you had sickle cell? I'm ready to bow out. I'm ready to bow out. Let
Right.
me go home.
Yeah.
Let
Let
me
me
try
head
my
on
home
out.
regimen one more again. And like
Right. I'ma head out.
I gotta
I'ma
go.
head on out.
Think so.
Mm-mm.
But
Yes.
educating even people like that and explaining things to them, even when you're like, I should not have to explain this to you. You went to fucking school for this. They did. But this is your life. This is our life. And
Yeah.
that is going to beget more knowledge, more information, and more experience, whether we want it to or not. Because we live in these bodies and they don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say sharing is important. Trying to show your perspective is important. But don't let these people walk all over you, because they wilding out here. And
Yeah.
also, somebody's discriminating against you or making you feel bad. If, like, for example, if you have a nurse come in and they're like, be careful, this medication is really addictive, ask for the charge nurse and say you don't want to see that nurse again, because she doesn't need to be
Right.
telling you about shit that's already on your fucking chart.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Use your
I
power.
hear you.
Use-
So my next question is, which hospital do you think is the best when it comes to treating crisis in the ER in your area? What hospital do
Oh.
you think is the best?
For treating specifically crisis.
Hmm.
Okay, my sub question is crisis with admission or crisis without admission?
Um,
It can be either. I'm just curious if
both,
I
both,
okay.
both, both.
Crisis with admission. Um, Crisis with admission. Oh, I'm gonna have to say, I guess I can say the hospital. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna say the Inova Fairfax system is great.
Okay.
I do want to kind of add, like, not like a segue, but like a subsect. In the
Hmm.
Inova Fairfax hospital system, there exists a like a clinic that people with sickle cell and like cancer patients and things like that can go to get like an infusion. So like I could go there and get like a couple doses of pain meds. You have to like schedule and call and get fluid. I also has fluids as well, and see
Right,
if there's treatments available and things like that. But sometimes that can be a better avenue than having to sit in the ER waiting for this, waiting for that. A B like, so they
right,
have. I will say that there is a little bit of a system in place to try to avoid having to go into the ER to get treated for sickle cell. We have like a pre-step for that.
Right, right,
Because of that pre-step, I do want to give it to Inova Fairfax. It's not in the Fairfax Hospital, but it is adjacent. It's like literally dead ass across the street.
okay,
So without admission, I'm gonna say Inova Fairfax because both with the outpatient as well as inpatient care, they do care a lot. They work really hard to follow the treatment plan, to follow whatever exists. And if there is no treatment plan or there isn't anything there, they do work really hard to consult other hematologists, to reach out and say, excuse me, pardon me, say, hey, we have the sickle cell patient in here. Here's their levels. Here's this. Here's that. What do you recommend? And I do think that Fairfax is also really good about listening to the patients themselves and just being like, hey, hmm, I know that you're more experienced. What works for you? And so, like, for example, sometimes like Toradol isn't on my treatment plan, but Toradol can be great for inflammation, you know? So I'm like, oh, hey, you're gonna give me hydromorphone and you're gonna give me maybe like you're gonna give me some fluids. Can we also add Toradol onto that to drop the inflammation? And
right,
then they hear me say something like that, and they're like, "Oh, you know what you're talking about? Yeah, well, let me ask the doctor, but it shouldn't be a problem." And it never is a problem,
right.
because I know what the
That's
fuck.
so good. They know you're on top of your game.
I mean,
Mm,
I'm lucky. I do want to say that I'm very lucky because I am a scientist. Like I've taught science. I love science. Science fascinates me. Like I remember being in IB biology and being excited to figure out what gene was miscoded and why I have sickle cell. Like excited
right,
and really, really enthralled to learn about how X and Y and Z works and how these medications work with one another and how to like I love stuff like that. But not every
mm,
sickle cell patient is like that. And I think it's really I've had doctors say to me, "Oh, wow, you're so eloquent," or "Man, if you hadn't been able to speak up for yourself, we probably would have discharged you." And I think it's really fucked up that unfortunately, because I can speak their language, they respect me more. I don't
right,
fucking like that. We're all patients,
right.
regardless.
It
And
shouldn't
like
take all
your job is to bridge the gap as a medical professional. That's your job, not mine.
right. Yep, it shouldn't take all that,
It's
for them to be
it
able to
shouldn't take
treat
all.
you,
But
That's
yeah, I would say Inova Fairfax is probably best for like inpatient and outpatient. There are other hospitals like in the area, but I wouldn't recommend Inova Alexandria if my hands were tied behind my back and I was shot in the face. Um, like
uh,
that was the hospital I went to that tried to treat me for parvovirus and then got it wrong. I'm not going. I did go
mm,
back there
mm,
once to get an organ removed, but I was in the hospital. They discharged me. Mind you, my temperature was going up that whole hour. It was like 99.2, 99.5, 99.7 discharge.
mm.
And I have sickle cell. You know, they tell you the second you hit 100, time to go to the ER. Like, no pass go, don't
Right,
collect 200, don't have a fun time. No, get your ass to the fucking ER. And like, that's
right,
annoying. Okay. Like, and so they sent me home, and I'm like, well.
right. Oof.
So I sat home for a couple hours. I still felt weird. I still felt off. I went back to the like it's called the Health Plex, and it's like the closest like emergency facility to my house, which
Right.
was great and like probably what I definitely would have picked as far as like non-admission hospital care until they stopped carrying Dilaudid because morphine doesn't work on me. So then I couldn't get just like the intermittent care that I would need to be like, okay, cool, I can go home. We muddled down the crisis. It's not going to get any worse. I but it would have been that building before they stopped carrying morphine for non-out
Right.
for non-inpatient crisis. They were great. They were really great. The Health Plex was amazing.
That's
Uh,
what's up.
like
So,
and they were. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say it was something about medication. I lost my train of thought, which is why I was like, it's okay.
Oh, sorry.
Medication.
Well, yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna ask you about medication anyway. Mhm.
perfect.
Um, so what is your opinion of the treatments that they have, and as far as medication goes, and some of the cures that they have as well? What is your opinion of that?
let's let's yap about it. I'm so glad you asked. Okay. So as far as pain meds are concerned, we'll talk about all of it. As far as pain meds are concerned, I started taking this medication like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it's called buprenorphine and naloxone sublingual film, and it
Oh,
goes under your tongue. It also comes in a patch form, and it does not work in the same way that narcotics work. It is a half opioid. So it's only it binds to the same receptors, but it doesn't fuck your shit up as much. You know what I mean?
hmm
And I recommend this to everybody. When I say that my quality of life is improved, I'm less foggy. All of that. They make you foggy. They make you feel a little clouded, like
right.
you're like not that you're blinded, but kind of like you're going through life, but just like a little bit of a haze. Um,
Mm,
and when I switched from those to these, the haze went away, but my pain was still being maintained. It is probably one of the things that I appreciate most. And when I say I was so apprehensive about the switch, I did not want to switch. I did not want to switch. We had just kind of gotten to like an opioid dosage that was kind of sort of doing work for me, and like I was not ready to do so. And the doctor was like, "Look, if you really, really, really hate it, we promise we'll let you switch back to your regular regimen. Just give it a shot." I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." You know, I have not switched back. They are more expensive. They are the worst. I mean, you could think of the most bitter, most disgusting medication, like, you know, uh, you know, oxycodone doesn't really taste great. If you've ever had to take Xanax for anxiety or anything, those don't taste great. I would rather have to swallow a mountain of those than take this film. Like, that is how bad this film
yeah.
tastes. It is
Yeah, I
god
have
awful.
been on it before, so I know what you're talking about. So,
It's
yes,
awful, but it
yeah,
works. I take
yeah.
if I without the back, so I also have a patch because I hate the way they fucking taste.
Mm.
Without the patch, I have to take 7 a day.
Oh
Now,
wow.
with the patch, I only have to take 3, which is a lot more tolerable. Um,
Right.
but they
That's good.
work really well, and I'm mad that they don't prescribe these to children because this would be a really great way to prevent kids from ending up with severe opioid addictions at age fucking 10. And it's not like
Yeah,
this medication is new. It's been on the market since like the late 80s. And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?
yeah.
Why was this not presented to me until I was 28?"
Yeah, because for um the most part, buprenorphine was supposed to be strictly for addicts, for
Right.
people coming off of heroin and things like
Yeah.
that. But
It's like, dude,
they just found, that it does help with the pain that we have, especially the chronic pain.
yeah.
And so yeah, I was on it for a while. Also, it
Mhm.
it just my pain had gotten to the point where, it that was no longer working for me. And then I moved away from the person that was prescribing it. And then
Mhm.
my insurance gave me such a hard time,
Mhm.
approving
Right.
it, and it's so expensive. So I just ended up switching back to normal,
Yeah.
pain
And
medicine.
I'm not judging you. I don't want you to think that I'm like, because I very much understand exactly what you were talking about. Like, it is ridiculous. These medications are not cheap. Like, the films are cheaper for me than the patches are. And the patches, like a fucking 2 month supply of patches is literally over 200 fucking dollars. So, like, and so don't, anything I am saying as in a perfect world where everybody could fucking afford everything and the medications would be priced the way they're supposed to be priced, and all the doctors were actually educated, because that's the
Right,
other, some doctors just don't even know about it. So then you bring up this new medication, you're like, "Hey, I used to take this and it worked really well," sort of. And I think that will be my other disclaimer, is it's great for the chronic pain. It's great for just like kind of day to day, but when you are in crisis, and even when I'm in crisis, you have to switch back. You have to
yeah,
switch back because it's not as effective, and it's not as, I don't like, targeted. It just isn't. And
yeah,
so even me, when I go into crisis, I stop taking the sublingual films. I take the patch off. I go back to my oxycodone regimen, or I go into the ER hospital, do the hydromorphine, and deal with
right,
that.
yeah. And
So
so it's very cool to hear, the perspective, a good perspective, because there's been other warriors that are just they're not very open to even trying it. They're just not. And I feel for some of them it probably could really help improve their quality of life if they would at least give it a try, you
and I
know?
when I and I don't want to like, and I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, I'm the end all be all," because I was them.
Right.
I didn't want to do it. I made my doctors promise me I could switch back. I made them promise me because I was like, I am so apprehensive. We are just barely getting
Right.
something to work. But I understand the science and I want my brain to be as healthy and as functioning for as long as fucking possible. And also
Yeah.
I do not want to set myself up to have, dependencies on things that may or may not be, that may be more difficult to get considering everything that's going on with the world
Right.
and like the just generalized opioid crisis. Like
Yes.
I want there to be alternative ways for me to survive. So I was
Right.
willing to give it a shot. When I say give it a shot, guys, I mean the clarity, like for clarity alone, I was so glad to have switched. Like I love being present in my life. And
Right.
like all of my friends have noticed a difference. They're like, "Yeah, you seem like you're more here." And I'm like, "I am. I am more
Right.
here." And so I really do love this medication. And when I didn't
But
want to switch. I did not want to switch at all. And I thank myself every single day that I was willing to give it a shot. And here's the thing: if you hate it, switch the fuck back. It's fine.
right.
Switch
Yeah.
back. But
Yep.
it really is an excellent medication, and I'm so glad I gave it a shot. And I'm
Mhm.
normally like the kind of person that will try anything. So like there's the
Right.
one like Voxolitor, there's like the lawsuit going on. I think I
Mhm.
tried that like twice and then stopped because I didn't really like the way it made me feel.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
I've been taking hydroxyurea for a really long time. Here's my thing with hydroxyurea. I want to say this because I've experienced a lot of different things with it. Hydroxyurea is chemo. So if your doctor is prescribing it to you and you were like, at one point you felt like it was working, but then maybe the dosage changed and you went up a bit and now you feel like it's not working or now you feel like it's making you feel weird. There is a line where hydroxyurea works in the way where it's happy and it just helps treat the cells, and then hydroxyurea starts working like chemo. It starts fucking your shit up.
Ugh.
I know this because I had a doctor who was like, I have patients taking 1,500 I mean, excuse me, taking 2,500 milligrams of hydroxyurea. And I was like, okay, that's great, but I'm not them. And every time we
Right.
go above 3 pills, I start feeling fucking weird. So hydroxyurea is a great medication. And again, I've been taking it literally since I was a kid. And if you are apprehensive about that, and again, I was apprehensive, what they did was they were like, here, we're going to show you your blood slides. And they showed me a slide of my blood before I started taking it. And they're like, just take it for a month and see what your blood cells see. And you see the difference for yourself. And
Mm.
later, I came back and I looked under, and I could see that my cells were healthier and that there were more of them and that they looked more plump and like they looked better. I couldn't argue with it. I saw it with my own goddamn
Right.
eyes.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's
so
what's up. That's what's up. I have never even had a doctor even think to approach it like that, you know?
which
So
is
that's
so
what's up.
odd to me. I mean, but again, I was always like, I've always been like a weird sciencey kid. So like, the first time I
Yeah.
got an IV, they were like, you can look away, and I was like, can I watch? And like, I mean, mind you, I'm in the hospital. I just passed out, like
Right.
in school, like I had to get rushed to the hospital, whole 9 yards. And like the nurses and the doctors are like, if you
You
want to,
want
and I did.
right.
I
It's
wanted to
like you
watch.
wanna watch?
I was like, please, I want to see you stab me. I want to see the blood. Like, I want to watch. And I did.
Mhm.
And I watched. But I don't like the idea of somebody coming at me with a medical instrument and me not being able to observe what's happening. And I understand
Right.
some people out, but I don't like the idea of you coming at me with something sharp and me not being able to see it. No, 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 no.
Yeah. Yep, I
But yeah,
watch too, girl. I'm the same way. They're like,
I
"You
trust
can
these
look
people.
away
They don't
if
know
you
how to
want."
access veins. Are you kidding me?
Right. I always look.
Give me the needle and I'll do it my damn self.
Right, you know?
I wish that was a joke because I really could do it my damn self. Like I have and can.
A lot of us could, child. We done seen this thing so many times, so
Bruh,
we
I
we
bet
can
you
do it.
all of us know how to work that little machine, and we all know how to turn that damn beep off. We all know how to turn that damn beep off.
Yes. That like, look, we basically have went through medical school as
Might as
well,
well
being
have.
in the hospital so much,
Might as well have.
you know?
I can hook up a freaking fluid bag to my IV pole. Like it's ridiculous. Okay, so
Right.
blood. Because I wanted to make sure I touched on all the stuff. Blood
Yeah,
thinning. But yeah, because I know there's like, I didn't realize that there was such a controversy around hydroxyurea, but if you go and look in a couple of the, like, there's a lot of controversy. And like, again, I
oh,
understand, and like, I understand deeply because the eugenics, the entirety of like all OBGYN culture comes from the abuse of Black women. So like, I understand the apprehension of we are locked in, okay? Also
yeah,
apprehensive. But here's the thing is like, if we don't take initiative about being serious about our own healthcare, we will end up dead.
yep,
Like,
yep.
and what works for one person may not work for you, or may like we're all sickle cell patients are not a monolith. I also want to say this, not every sickle cell patient is black. If
Right.
you
Yeah.
lived around the equator and there were mosquitoes in that region, you are likely to have sickle cell. I've met Latinos with sickle cell. I've met like it. All you need
Yes.
is mosquitoes and hot weather to have even a remote chance of having sickle. That's it. That's it.
Yep.
Asians,
I have met.
Filipinos,
Yeah. I have met a white person with sickle cell as well. So I hate they try to classify it as a black and brown disease when there are literal white people with sickle cell.
literal white people, literal
Like,
like Latinos, but like white Latinos that have it like all and like there's this one girl in my support group. God love her so much, and I feel it makes me feel bad because I can tell she feels the need to disclaim the fact that she has sickle cell as she's sitting with us because most of us are black, and it's like at any single time people are like, oh yeah, it only affects black people. I am ready. I am ready. I'm like, nope, incorrect. That is a
right.
common misconception.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Be
me
ready
proceed.
to tussle. You be ready to
I
tussle about
am
that
ready
thing.
to hustle. Like, can we just be accurate? I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong. I just want accuracy. If I was incorrect, I would want somebody to tell me. I don't care about being right. I want to be correct.
Right. Exactly. Oh,
Educate me. That's how we learn. Um,
mm,
so yeah, blood thinners, I think, cause a lot of questionability, hoo-ha, here's that and third. If you need them, take them. If you don't. That is my thing on blood thinners. I will say doctors are so quick to go to like blood thinner failure. You know what I mean? Where they're ready to, and I don't really care. Like I'll stab myself with a needle every single day. Like it doesn't really bother me to have to take like a shot of what the hell is the the blood thinner that you stick in your stomach. You know what it's
oh
called?
yeah. What is it? Lord,
Profound.
it's on the tip of my tongue. I know what you're talking about, though. I
Yeah,
know what you're talking
one of us is gonna remember it.
about. Right. Eventually.
And so I've been on Xarelto. And you know what they don't tell you about like oh, when you can't afford medication and they tell you join the little medication like the medication insurance that they have you. Okay, sure. You know what happens when you do that? I'll tell you. I was on Xarelto because I've had two clots in my left leg, two clots in my right leg, one clot in my left arm, and two clots in my right arm. So and some in the ones that two. Three out of the four in my arms were superficial, so not bad, but one of them was deep, and then all of the ones in my legs have been deep. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is what it is. I have to take blood thinners. It's fine. So we started with Xarelto, and it's 'cause my blood's a little bit thicker. And because I take the Hydrea, which makes my cells nice and happy, the blood's a little sludgy, and so they like to stick, they like to gather. So we started with Xarelto, and I couldn't afford it, so they put me on the medication insurance that comes from through the company. I took Xarelto for a year. You know what happened after that year? I needed to get Xarelto again in the fine prints of all of these little insurance policies that they don't tell you, I could not use the help policy again. You can't use it in like the subsequent year. But also something that, and this doesn't happen for all of them, but this happens for a nice chunk of them. Oh, by the way, did you use our little like company health insurance for your medication? Great. Well, now not only can you not use it again this year, but you can also not use your own insurance to cover this medication. Huh?
What?
What? What do you mean? They're like, yeah, you have to pay full price because you used our little benefit program last year. Okay, I'm gonna switch blood thinners. So then I switched to because I'm not even digging into what the hell y'all are trying to do right now, Xarelto. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay.
Right.
So I switched to Eliquis. Eliquis is fine. It's been working fine. I end up getting a clot while I'm on Eliquis. Now, was I super stressed at work and was I taking my Eliquis twice a day regularly? No. Was I trying to? Yes. Was I succeeding? No. And so, you go in, you get treated for Eliquis, they give you the shots of blood thinners, and so they sent me home with those, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to start taking these regularly." And I said, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense." Um, and then I lost my job, and I could no longer afford the big fancy injections. Now, ironically enough, maybe 2 weeks prior, I had just paid for a 4 month supply of Eliquis. And
Mm,
so I just switched back to the Eliquis and stayed on and made sure I took it twice a day. It was like very, very, very diligent about it. Um, so I will say, if they ever tell you that you are having blood thinner failure and you know that you have not been regularly taking it and you're worried about having to do the shots, tell your physician that you kind of are ain't shit and be like, can we try this again and see if maybe it was me before switching to something that would make you uncomfortable. Like I said, I don't mind stabbing myself. So it was whatever. I just literally could not afford the medication, so I had to switch back.
Yeah.
But that is my one recommendation for people who deal with blood thinner failure, because I know a lot of people do not want to have to like twice a day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
honest. Be honest. Like if you're gonna be honest with anyone, please let it be your fucking hematologist.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And now we're gonna get to the cures. I promise we're good. I was like, I had them all blocked out. So the cures. So I worked, my last corporate job was actually um I was an office manager for AstraZeneca. So the AstraZeneca outsources all of their like office managers, like anything that is like hospitality, outsources all of it to hospitality. So I was a contractor, but I worked for AstraZeneca. Like that's what I like my emails were AstraZeneca, like that's what I did. I've worked in their office in the DC in DC. And so when you work for a pharmaceutical company, you start getting tea. You start really getting to see what's behind the curtain of all of the nonsense. So, like, remember when they were doing, like, when they're still fighting for it, I think, but they were trying to fight for their rights for Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Eliquis is the blood thinner I take. When I got my 3 month supply of Eliquis, before I had given them the insurance, they wanted to charge me over $1,300 for 3 months supply of Eliquis. I said, that's fucking crazy. Came back with the insurance. Again, this is 3 month supply, so it is a lot. And it came down to be like 150, 175 for 3 months. And I was like, okay, that's a lot better, but it's still ridiculous. Working for
Hmm.
pharma, you have to end up listening to a lot of like the legislation that goes on the Hill. So we're sitting and we're listening to them talk to the big three pharma companies about medications and insurance and Eliquis and everything. And they're like, how much does it cost you to make a year's supply of Eliquis? And they're like, oh, well, there's lots of overhead costs that come into it. And they're like, okay, so you're not going to answer the question. So since we have the actual numbers right here, it costs you 19 cents to make a year's supply of Eliquis.
Wow.
And they were trying to charge me before insurance over $1,000 for 3 months of a medication. It doesn't even cost them a whole fucking dollar to make a year's supply of. Fuck all of these drug companies, for real, for real. Like, I literally
Yes.
was sitting in there and I'm like listening to the numbers and I'm like, and like my coworkers like looked over and they're like, okay, I'm like, are you okay? I'm like, honestly, guys, I'm not. I'm like so triggered right now. Did you hear how much it cost them to make like a year's supply of that medication? They're like, yeah. I was like, I just spent $175 for 3 months, and that was after insurance. They were trying to charge me $1,000 before insurance. And they were like, oh, I'd be triggered too. Okay, good. Here's
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy.
absolutely insane. And it's all of the medications are like that. All of them are like that. It costs them fucking nothing to make. And
Yep.
even with overhead and paying people and distribution and packaging and all of your fuck shit, there's no reason for it to cost that much. Y'all are robbing
Right.
people. Y'all are robbing disabled people blind. And then you wonder why people like Luigi exist. Anyway,
Right. Yes. It's oof. You preaching, girl. You preaching. It's a shame. And
it's
you
a
know
damn
what?
shame.
They need to be exposed like that because a lot of people don't know
I don't know. And people don't watch
that it
awards and
costs
stuff like
so
that.
little. Right? Like they don't know that it
And
doesn't
this was
cost basically anything to make this medication.
doesn't cost basically anything for make half the medications we take. And the crazy thing about this is like, this was a public this happened in I believe it was I want to say it was Congress. I believe it was the Congress, which is either that or in the Capitol building, where they were having this conversation about this. And mind you, this is just Medicaid. This is just Medicaid arguing for the right to be able to negotiate drug prices. Not all the other closed ones. This would just
Right.
affect disabled people, the people in the military, and people who are on Medicaid, and that was it. And they were still fighting tooth and nail to not allow these people to negotiate drug prices, even though, again, I just told you how much they were charging me for this medication and how much it actually fucking costs them to make it. So they don't care about us.
Mm-mm. It's
they don't.
ridiculous. It's
And
ridiculous.
with that, let's bleed into the cures. So I get apheresis, and one of the reasons why I've started making apheresis content, human oil change content, is because apheresis is the actual most accessible treatment for sickle cell. And like, no, nothing for treating sickle cell is actively cost effective. Okay. The insurance companies fucking hate us. Nothing is affordable. However, apheresis, the first time I got apheresis, I was mad. So they gave me the ports. I got my double ports put in. It was great because I don't get stabbed anymore. Nope, you're gonna use my port. I don't care. I don't.
Mm,
It's gonna take us a long time to find somebody. Great, find somebody. I actually have a story about that, and to the point where I got pressured into letting them use my arm. My arm blew in the CT scan, and I know somebody got chewed out for it because the next time I came to the ER and said, can you guys please access my port? Because the last time they low key pressured me into getting access in my arm and then I blew in the machine. So I'd really not rather do that. And the look of recognition on her face, I know that entire fucking ER got chewed the fuck out for that shit. I sent pictures. I called my social worker. I called my clinic. I was, when bad shit happens, complain. When bad shit happens, complain. Be a Karen when the hospital treats you badly. Trust and
yes,
believe. Do it. It's the
yes,
only time I ever recommend being a Karen because it works.
right.
It works.
Yeah,
Even
because
if it
it's
doesn't
your
work then, when you come back,
right. You have to be a caring about your health and your body. You have to.
so I got asked to do the trial. They offered for me to do the sickle cell, the cure, like as a trial patient. Like I would have gone in and would have done it for free. I wouldn't have been able to work. I would have I told them I thought about it for a while. I thought about it for a while because I'd spent my entire life you spend your entire life wanting to not have this illness, and now all of a sudden it's kind of feasible and you're like, should I do that? But I am a scientist, which means I didn't know what the side effects were going to be. And I was like, do you want to be a guinea pig? Or do you know what your life is like? You're okay with being a loud person with sickle cell. You're okay advocating for having this illness. Do you really want to go through this experimental process? You don't know how it's going to end, and you don't know what the long-term ramifications or repercussions are going to be. And
Yeah.
after a long and hard thought process, because it was like, damn, I could live my life sickle cell free. I chose against it. So it's really funny because when all of this stuff about like the sickle cell cure card started coming out, they're like, "Oh my god, did you hear? They asked me to do the trials." Yes, I heard before you even knew this was a fucking thing. Don't piss me off. And I appreciate that. Like when you see articles about sickle cell, you think of me, but like
Right.
I've been sent this article 15 times this week.
They, and they
Stop.
s- right, they swear they're trying to be helpful, and it's just like
I
trust and believe.
goddamn live here.
Like trust and believe. We know about damn near everything that is coming out about sickle cell. You do not have to send me those articles,
They
child.
tell us first. They ask
Right.
us first. They ask us to be guinea pigs for the scientific articles. You're sending us 2 years later.
Right.
Please. So,
Yes. Mm,
asked me, I
mm.
said no. And to this day, I'm very glad about it. So, as I was working for pharma, that is when all of the information about CRISPR and the cure and everything was coming out about it. And it was really exciting. And at the time, AstraZeneca partners with Alexion. And so Alexion specifically focuses on rare disease treatment. And so they had a little bit of like a hand in the pie, for lack of a better phrasing, regarding some of the trials with the sickle cell cure and like different things that they were working on. And while I think it is amazing that a lot of these people no longer have sickle cell, there's I have a lot of qualms with this. First of all, the cheap cure is $2.3 million. What
Right.
sickle cell patient can afford that? Oh, well, insurance doesn't cover my regular shit.
Right.
Okay? So don't come at me with that fuck ass insurance conversation. We are not in the same ballpark if you're gonna walk up to me and bring up insurance when we're talking about a
Right.
$2.3 million medical procedure. Mind you, that's the cheap one.
Right.
Like, so please.
Crazy.
And so, hearing about all of it, and they're like, well, insurance is supposed to be able to cover this part and this part. And I'm like, so then there's the other one that's $3.2 million. What black person, and obviously not just black people, but most of the time people with sickle cell tend to be impoverished, lower class, not lower middle class, like, you know, Ethnic
Mm.
people, people who are, tend to be around the equator, and not just ethnic people, but like anybody who's lived around the equator, as well as lower income white people, tend to have sickle cell. Who the
Right.
like
Mm.
richest person with sickle cell that I know is fucking T-Boz, and
Right.
she's not affording that goddamn sickle cell cure.
Right.
Like, so what kind of conversation is this, right? And then I started talking to my doctors about it, and I was like, so how are the people who got the cure? How are they doing? And she said a lot of them are doing great. Like the younger you are, they're doing great. And I said, oh, that's really cool. That's really exciting. And then they started telling me about the people who are a little bit older, closer to my age range. And here's the thing: your brain likes patterns. Your brain fires in very similar motions regularly. And so, what is happening to a lot of these people, particularly people who are older, I'm not saying this isn't like, and people who are older or people who did not, who have had a lot of crises, I hesitate to recommend you guys doing that. And this is why. People who are young, people who have not had a lot of crises, people whose brain has not filled those patterns or those archway, or have filled those specific like brain pathways yet, you're good to go. Go ahead and give that shit a shot. You might be good. People who've been experiencing it their whole life, you're going to go through something stressful. The weather's going to change. Something weird is going to happen. And you are going to feel like you're in crisis. You're going to do the whole thing. Your body's going to feel like you're in crisis. You're going to be lightheaded. You're going to be thirsty. You're going to be in pain, probably a little nauseous. You're going to go to the hospital. And the hospital's going to tell you there's nothing fucking wrong with you because now your brain is doing all of the same shit that it would do because it's used to your body sending the specific signals during all of those trigger events that equal sickle cell, that equal your sickle cell pain, your sickle cell crisis, because all of your triggers have been hit. So in theory, your body should be doing that. So your brain is responding to what your brain is responding to what your brain should be doing, but your body is not doing that. So now your brain, low key, is gaslighting you into thinking you're having a sickle cell crisis, and you are not. And I don't think anything on the planet Earth sounds worse to me than me being gaslit by my own brain into
Right.
having something I'm not having. I would rather suffer the worst fucking crisis I've ever had over and over and over and over and over again because at least I know it's fucking real. And
Mm.
nobody wants to talk about that part of the cure because they're like, oh my God, sickle cell cure, sickle cell cure, sickle cell cure, which is exciting. That's really cool. I'm a scientist. That's amazing. The science for this is so
Right.
dope. But I'm worried because what stops them from using the science for eugenic reasons? Like they're not already making fucking designer babies in Hollywood. Don't piss me off. So like,
Mm.
what stops them from using this to pick out A, B, C, and D? Or, oh, this gene is more likely to make somebody smart. Or this gene, like, what stops them from using it for stupid reasons? I think it's a beautiful reason to want to not have people be sick. And I'm not a super religious person by any stretch of the imagination. But there's the phrase where like God gives his hardest battles to his strongest warriors. And I don't necessarily disagree or agree with that because I don't think it's right to say, oh, God made it so you're suffering and that's why everything sucks. But it's okay because you're strong enough to handle it anyway. That's a really shitty thing to say to somebody. That's a really shitty thing to say to somebody. But I
Yeah.
will say that the I like from trans people to weird plants to anything on the planet, I believe that everything was made the way it was supposed to be made. So if we have chronic illness, which is an adaptation of trying to avoid literal death by mosquito, who are we to mess with the way that our bodies created a way to fight against something that exists on the planet? You know what I mean? Like that's why sickle cell isn't just some like big scary ooga booga thing that came out of nowhere. Sickle cell exists because it was a way to withstand getting malaria.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the cells are shaped, the malaria cannot bind to the blood cells and it keeps those people alive. Yes, two people with the trait make a sickle cell baby. Now that baby has more things to worry about but they're still not getting malaria, you know?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think people forget that like everything that has ever happened and most things that exist in humans are is evolutionary in some way, shape, or form, particularly with sickle cell. And so you're trying to cut out something that was an evolutionary adaptation, but you don't know what the fucking repercussions are of that,
Right. Yeah. And
especially when your brain has already made the patterns.
yeah. And for some, especially the older patients, the damage that's been done to their body will still remain, and they're still going to have to deal with that even after being cured,
Exactly,
you know?
because the chronic pain, and I've never really thought about it, and I wish that they would explain this to kids a little bit more. Like, you have fucked up blood cells running through all of your organs, which means none of your organs are running at top efficiency because the cells
Right.
are at top efficiency. The building block is broken, which means everything else is running, but it's but
Right. It's
it's
broken
running, but
down
it's
like a hoopty. It's
a
like a
little
little
hoopty. We a little hoopty.
hoopty.
Now sickle cell patients are hoopties. We. I love that. I'm sorry. That was so funny. Like, no, but
Wait.
genuinely, it gets you from A to B, and it's a beautiful little thing, and we love the hoopty, but damn, we gotta give the hoopty some support.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the issue, is everybody thinks cure means it's going away, but there are so many. Like, a lot of those patients are in, like, really intensive therapy and, like, having to
Right.
do, like, the PTSD of, like, being in the hospital all the time and now not knowing what to do because they don't really need to be in the hospital all the time except for when they feel like they're in crisis, but they're not really in crisis, and so, what do we do when I'm in pain, but, like, the pain is come I'd
Right.
rather I'd
It's a
rather
whole
just,
nother thing to deal with. And
like,
speaking of therapy, I wanted to ask you, do you have um any alternative ways that relieve your pain? Like, I know people write, they do poetry, sing, stuff like that.
yeah, I have a couple of different things. I do actually have a therapist, and I think it's really important that, like, if you have a therapist, that they work really close with your hematology team or somebody who understands sickle cell or understands, like, having a hematologist or having, excuse me, a mental health professional that understands sickle cell is so fucking important. Let me tell you. Like, I've had plenty of therapists before, I have, and none of them hold a candle to the person who she also spends some time as a social worker, but she spends all of her time at the clinic where me and the bunch of the other sickle cell patients go, and she sees it all. So she helps set up the support group. She like let connecting with people who have your illness will make you feel so less alone. So that is my
I,
first thing. Um, I love to play video games. And I will say video games is like, even in the hospital, I have had lots of medical professionals recommend VR video games because it is a completely immersive experience. Your hands are doing something, your eyes are doing something, you are completely locked in to what is happening, and it helps you escape your body a little bit. And like, yes, it sounds a little bit like mumbo jumbo, but this is also something that has been told to me by medical professionals. And I even
yeah.
mentioned this in one of my streams. I do stream every now and again, the other day. And one of my friends, one of the viewers was like, "Oh, is that why even when I have like a really bad migraine or I don't feel good, I still want to play video games or I still do play video games?" I'm like, "Yes, because it is a way to help you escape the pain,
Yep.
escape what you're going through." I also love to read. I love audiobooks. I'm a knitter. I crochet. I love diamond art. I'm like a really jack of all trades. I'll do like a makeup look if I'm feeling really like saucy and I don't want to do a lot. I'll just put like, I don't know. And I mean, I've done crazy makeup looks. I've painted my whole face white and done like a goth look, like, and I am a little bit of goth, so it's not like out of left field. But you know,
Right.
I also really believe in the power of medical cannabis. I think it is
Yes.
top notch, top notch.
Yes.
Anything that you can
I,
find that is from the earth to help
natural.
your
Yes.
pain.
Yes. I'm right there with you, girl. I am 420 friendly as well.
Amen.
I'm
I,
420
I'm
friendly.
always surprised to meet a warrior who is not 420 friendly. How are you living your life?
Right.
And
Yeah,
like, I
because
was a late bloomer. I was a goody two shoes and a Mormon and like the oldest and like wanted to set a good
right.
example of this stuff. So I didn't even start really until I turned 19. And mind you, like, I was around it all the time. Like, my mother is a regular schmegular, like, enjoys and just enjoys it. And like, look, people drink a glass of wine every day. I'm not judging anybody for living their best life, okay?
Right.
Right? People, you can drink a glass every single night, but that's not alcoholism. Okay.
Right.
Okay. But then you're gonna leave me and my little pain treatment alone. Okay.
Right. Exactly. because it is not doing no type of damage that that alcohol is
I
doing.
don't even drink like that. Maybe on my birthday. Maybe on my birthday or like a special occasion and New Year's. Because
Right.
the time it takes me to bounce back, not worth it.
Yeah.
Abs not fucking worth it. It makes me so
Yeah.
tired. You just want to lay around in bed. You're chugging water, chugging Pedialyte, chugging a liquid
Yeah.
IV,
Right.
trying to get
Having to
fluid
recuperate.
back. And like I can't drink Gatorade. Like Gatorade makes me sick because there's too much sugar in it. So I can't
Oh,
even use that as like a balancer.
oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so
Well,
I'm like really pushing all of the other ones. Anyway, but yeah, I believe a lot in alternative ways to treat your pain because
that's what's up.
humans are arrogant monkeys, and what I mean by that is we should be living life like the Native Americans. Like, why humans are the smartest, but we're the only people who pay for the planet, right?
Right.
Okay, sure. Humans are the
Right.
smartest, but the trees outside that should be bearing fruit were chopped down, replaced by male trees, and now everybody and their mama has pollen allergies. Like
Mm-hmm.
because pollen is supposed to be used to fertilize trees so that there can be fruit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
no, but that would mean free food for people. Like there are so it's I could rant about anything
Yeah.
and everything.
Oh, I know. I'm right there with you, girl. The stuff that we do is so backwards. Like, it's so backwards.
Like we
We're
should
supposed
be
to be civilized, but really, I feel like we're moving backwards when we're
We
moving against
are.
nature.
We are
You
so isolated and so individualized, and yet we are all craving community because of how much separation has been created. And it's like, oh,
know?
we have all of these, and like, there's beautiful communities to be had online, but there are people who are not willing to bring those connections outside of the computer, outside of the internet, into
Right.
their real life physical space. Even stuff like
Right.
this, like, yes, we interact parasocially on the internet and obviously love you down, but like this is connecting with community. This is building community and building and using the internet in the way where you use it to build community. And
Yes.
instead we are hyper fixating on being these individualized, oh, I'm better than everybody else, and like that is not how this shit is supposed to work. We're supposed to be living together in these little groups, helping each other survive. People with ADHD were
Yes.
and gatherers, and we are shaking because we should be out running around grabbing dinner from the family and then sitting down relaxing while the person who loves to cook is preparing the meal, and then we got somebody else freaking picking the fruit out in the yard so that we can have a nice fruit juice and a nice glass of wine. But no, we
You
got to
are
do this.
preaching, girl.
We
You
paying
are
rent.
right. Exactly. It's so backwards.
We should
So,
be eating fruit off the trees and smoking and enjoying the fruits
right.
of the earth.
Right, connecting with nature and each other and everything. Like,
Everything.
girl, you're preaching to the choir.
Be like, oh
So,
my gosh, green light therapy. Go walk in a forest.
right. Uh, so for my last question, I want to ask you, what do you think the sickle cell community needs the most right now?
Ooh, that is a good question. Hmm. Because I think there are a couple of things. I think the sickle cell community, in a weird way, I think we need to band together and find a way to create like, I don't want to say like a support group, but create a system in which like sickle cell patients go and visit like like nurses and like nursing training grounds, because you talk to nurses and like I've seen posts on the internet where nurses like, yeah, we're still being taught that like black people's skin is thicker so they don't feel as much pain. What the? It's
Right,
2025. I saw that post this year. A comment on
right.
this. I think one thing that would be so helpful, just like generalized for the sickle cell community, would be for a way for sickle cell patients to connect with people who are being educated, who are learning about treating people in the ER, in the hospital, and having us come together and being physical present examples of like, hey, you say you're a good shot, but like this is what sickle cell veins feel like. Hey, you say X, Y, and Z. This is what a port looks like. Just to put us in in that space with the medical professionals and to help them help offer education, because I think that's what's missing. There's a real big disconnect from the medical community and the lived experience, and if we could find a way to bridge that gap, I think it would offer a lot more support to the people in the medical community who are a little lost and just didn't get enough education. And like, yeah, that's kind of on the that's on the fault of the system, but like, how can we help improve the system? And then on the other hand, I think it would help overall improve the quality of life and the quality of patients existing in the systems that be, because at least there would be one person there who's like, hey, wait, in school or in this XYZ, normally the people I have in hospitals that advocate for me are people who've had lived experiences with sickle cell patients. And so if there's a way to facilitate that during the educational process, I think that would bring so many benefits, not only to the patients, but to the medical community.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that, girl. That's
Also just more connection with us in general. I think having sickle
right.
cells is an isolating illness, and that the more of us band together and connect, the more without judgment, because like there's a lot of judgment, and there's like the Dr.
Yeah,
Fauci's of it all, and then the people who are like, never go to the doctor, and it's like, that's bad advice. That is bad faith advice.
yeah, yeah,
Like it
yeah.
is.
You you're so right. You are so right. Well,
Yeah,
I definitely have enjoyed this conversation. Thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing just a small part of your experience and stories with sickle cell.
Oh,
Thank you so
sure.
much for being a part of the podcast.
I want to thank you
Yeah,
so much for creating this podcast and being willing to hear all of our voices and sharing this platform with sickle cell warriors, because we all have so many different lived experiences and we all have so much to say. And it is so
yes,
important that people who don't have sickle cell hear from people who do.
yes,
And you are
yes.
doing such fucking amazing work. I am so glad we were able to make this happen. I thank you for having me here, for doing everything you're doing. Like, you are
And
paving the way for so many warriors to feel comfortable speaking up and speaking out. And I know it's hard for, Black people to even like put themselves out there, but then on top of that, as a Black person with a disability, it's even
yeah,
harder. I just thank you so much, because I know the kind of work and the kind of effort and like even like the kind of like weighted pressure you feel to doing this, because there's a lot on your shoulders. You want to make sure that everything is played off correctly, but you also want to make sure that we're represented. And I'm
yes.
so grateful for you and so grateful for that and so grateful for this. And I want you to hear that, because like, thank you for
Thank
having me, but thank you for creating this place to have me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. You're gonna make me cry. Don't cry.
I'm just a
Well,
big
thank you.
softie. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm emotional too. I'm trying to hold it in, but thank you so much. That means so much to me. Thank you. For our audience, thank you guys so much. If you made it to the end, please
Hope you
remember
had
to like,
fun.
share, subscribe, and all that good
Oh,
stuff. Leave
like,
your
share,
comments.
subscribes. Love it
Hey,
all.